Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy 12? The Zodiac Age? Maybe it's 11? I do not remember which Final Fantasy game this one is. I think it's 12. I think 11 was the multiplayer one I never played that everybody liked, and then 14 was the multiplayer one I never played that everybody hated. And then 15 is the single player one I've never played, even though I got 2 different copies of it for Christmas gifts and bought the DLC for it. So one of these days I have to play that game. It's entirely on me that I haven't. I feel silly about it. Anyway, so last time we kind of wrapped up all the hunt missions that we still had to do, I believe. We should be... There's like 1 or 2 of the trophy hunt quests that we still can't do. Otherwise, hunt-wise, we've done everything that's available to us, I guess, except for 1. Truth, Sharded Mist. Petition is submitted for the hunting of the Behemoth King. Petitioner is Kokeem and Dalin's house in Ravenaster. Oh, wow. So there's a big, long break between videos. I did not realize that we had a hunt quest we hadn't done yet. But you know what? I think I had said at the end of the last session that next time we're going to get back to the story, so let's do that, because we already know that we have, we'll have a few more hunt quests that unlock after we deal with that one. Including, basically, the last tier of hunt missions include your optional super bosses that are tougher than the final boss. And although I do not remember the final boss of this game being an easy final boss by Final Fantasy standards. Some Final Fantasy games have final bosses that really don't feel like they're that much. Like I distinctly remember the final boss of Final Fantasy VIII. It's a really lengthy fight, but not one where I felt like I was ever in any trouble. And Final Fantasy VIII is one of my favorite games. Final Fantasy X, another one. Final boss battle never struck me as being that bad. Oh, why did I do this? We actually have to fly to the next plot location, which means I need to actually come over here. But yeah, Final Fantasy X and 8, they're like 1A and 1B as far as my favorite Final Fantasy games. Which is weird because, you know, I started playing the game back in the 8-bit days, but 10 and 8 are really my favorites, and both of them kind of had underwhelming final boss fights. 10 had, like, the final boss design was a little silly looking, but the final boss that is, like, you can actually lose to is, you know, this story-wise and emotional impact to character-wise is pretty good, but it's not that much of a fight. And then there's a series of boss fights after that where you have auto re-raise on, which is like, I still don't understand to this day why they did that. This one, though, I have to say, fairly challenging. Oh, private ships is the one we want. Fairly challenging final boss, although it will probably be a bit underwhelming when we get to it, just because we're going to be fighting it with a party that has beaten the super bosses, most likely. Good day. We handle all private airship arrivals, and departures from this desk. How may I help you? Let's see, your ship was the Straw, wasn't it? Lizard Man comes by to walk across the subtitles. She's safely berthed in one of our hangars. Would you like to board now? Yep. And the story wants us to go to the Nidorina Cataract, which, as you can see, is right off the edge of the world. Doesn't even appear to be attached to a landmass, so that's interesting. We will fly to the Nidorina Cataract. Very well, you may enter the hangar from the gate. Now, so we've had, I'll tell you one reason, although I don't think, like, okay, so early quote, super boss fights. Not even super boss fights, but some of these hunts in the early game, fighting them with, like, Larsa or any of the guest characters in your party can be quite useful. And I did as many hunts as I can while we still have our guest character with us. But the really high-end super bosses, like, that guest characters don't really help you as much because they just become... You're fighting enemies that can, like, you know, kill multiple characters with one ranged area attack. And other than having, like, one extra person around throwing around high potions and stuff, they don't do much. That being said, I tried to take out as many of these hunt missions as I could before we progress in the plot, because we will be losing our guest character at the end of this next sequence of plot. Not going to tell you exactly why that happens. We've had guest characters popping in and out of our party repeatedly. But we will, in fact, be losing our last guest character that we're ever going to have, and we'll be playing the rest of the game with no guest characters assisting us. And I don't know if it's really by design, but yeah, they set it up so all of the ultimate super boss, like the really, really high-end super boss fights, the ones that you could reasonably argue back and forth as to which one is the true ultimate super boss, all of them are not accessible until after you've shedded all guest characters and are just entirely fighting with a party of 3. With 3 people in reserve, which doesn't make sense, particularly against these super bosses. It's like, why are there 3 people like hanging out in the back smoking a cigarette, watching, and not participating actively in battle? Anyway, here's our last big stretch of plot before the end game. We clear this dungeon out, we get into the flight of this objective, and it is the point of no return. The Reaper IFF mission here. So it's interesting building out in the middle of nowhere. And I do not believe the story ever explains how this place came to be built, or what happened to the people who built it. I'm like, it's not a Final Fantasy Tactics like reference to another game or anything like that. It's just a big the world of Evil East and Final Fantasy Tactics, apparently chock full of mysterious old civilizations, since the mode where you go to a tavern and just select a job to send your jobber non-plot characters out on in that game sends you to all sorts of ancient ruins and stuff that are references to other Final Fantasy games. This appears to be a plot mandatory bizarre ancient ruin that is not explained location.
A tower on distant shore.
Is that where we're at? Is that what's going on here?
And about its peak, a piercing mist.
A piercing mist. I'd forgotten about Fran. I'd completely forgotten Fran and her voice and her ridiculous costume.
And in that mist, the Suncrest waits.
And your ridiculous costume.
My lady, your words still sound of doubt. Pray you reach your answer ere we the Suncrest.
Hey, the plot is giving me this set of missions to make my decision in.
Should I choose revenge, what then?
I would counsel that you
then
listen to reason. What about my woo? Can I pitch it? I was about to say Penelo's the only girl who covers up any of her skin, but I'd kind of forgotten that if you watch her from behind, for some reason the back of her thighs and calves are exposed. But yeah, this game does like having fantasy women wearing either ultra short skirts or butt floss type outfits like Fran has. Anyway, Baltier wants to talk to us, probably to tell us that we're not as cool a protagonist as Ramza Beluv, but let's see what it really is.
If something untoward should happen to me, you're taking the straw.
Untoward? What's this about?
What does that word mean? If something untoward should happen to me, you're taking the straw to a shop where you can sell it to pay off my old debts. I am not letting you have my ship for reals.
I am the leading man. Might need to do something heroic.
Spoilers.
Don't worry, I'll show you how to fly her.
Possible spoilers, which is one of those things I sometimes see someone say on the internet. Possible spoilers always makes me want to hit someone. I was about to start going through my gambits and stuff. Probably no need. I would imagine things are pretty, we've been fighting hunt missions, so we'll probably be just fine to handle whatever regular enemies we face here. And I do not have a guide out. There's at least one boss in this place that I'd never fought before, because I saw a guide on how to beat it and was like, I don't remember ever fighting this boss. So there's clearly little secrets and things in this place, including the final 2 trophy mark missions that I don't think I've ever done before. That being said, this game has a habit of having stuff like that pop up only on your return visit after you've cleared the plot. With the game runs at 4 times speed feature, I'm much more patient with this than I was first playing it through on the PS2. But this game really does... You can admire them for it, or you can complain about it. But they definitely get the most out of each section of map by coming up with bonus content for you to do to make you revisit plot stretches of dungeon that you would never otherwise revisit. So everyone's all shelled and protected up. Yep. So we actually should be capable of handling the enemies here with ease, much like the power glove would allow us to crank them. Crank it. Crankor. I find it unlikely that any of you guys are special trophy marks, so we're obtaining Arcana. So I don't remember much of anything about this dungeon other than that one of the probably the most difficult marked mission that I ever actually defeated on the PS2, because I have not beaten the super bosses of this game. I ran out of patience before I ever got to the point where my party was powerful enough to defeat them. And even a fully maxed out party in this game can't beat the super bosses quickly. These are like marathon session super bosses. We obtained a reptilian trophy. Oh, never mind. That was one of the trophies. So that should mean we've only got one left. Giga's chestplate. If we get it, I might have to actually back out of here and go complete that quest. In that case, I should have stolen from that thing. Well, between videos, if I remember, I'm going to have to actually open up the hunt trophy guide and make sure there was nothing that I needed to steal from that thing. Because if so, I guess what I'll do is I'll probably redo this off screen so that you guys don't have to see me go through it a second time. It seems unlikely there's anything I need to steal from it that's like so valuable at this point, because I don't know that I'm doing that much more with the loot system. See, I can't help but wonder if this is... No, it is a bad trap. It wasn't, like, really stopping us from getting anything, so I was starting to wonder if it was... Occasionally you hit those traps that are always beneficial to you. I'm starting to wonder if that was one of those. But what I remember about this place now is that you have to come back here to fight the toughest of the hunt missions that I ever actually beat. Never beat Yazamat, never beat this game's version of Omega Weapon, which I don't think I ever even found. But I did beat a big... It was a pain in the ass. It took me several tries. But I'm pretty sure I beat the hunt mission that pops up in this general area. It's actually the one right after this, the Pharaoh's Lighthouse, I think. I'm just curious with the Cassie. Keep murdering these poor little creatures. We obtained a Ketu board. I don't know what that is. I suppose I'm just curious enough to find out. It's probably, I want to say it's a weapon. Although if it is, I've already got one. So maybe it's not a weapon. Oh, a prayer board bearing the name of an ancient star written in strange... Okay. It's just a loot item. I don't know why that thing would be carrying around prayer boards, but it is. Cassie is big into Eastern mysticism. I think this place is where we actually fight this game's super boss. Although there's some debate over what should be considered the final super boss of the game, but the one that most people consider the final super boss of the game, I believe this is the screen where we will eventually fight it, but it's not here now. And it's not going to come here till we've cleared out almost everything else that we can do. You obtained a map of the Nidorina Cataract. Our map is now complete. And, okay, looks like we could have gone either way, and roughly you're going to end up at the same place. I've been playing some Final Fantasy VIII, guys. Been playing Final Fantasy VIII off screen, because I think I'm going to LP it. So I've been playing it to get leveled up and stuff, and it also has the everybody moves super fast feature, which is also hugely helpful. Because as much as I love that game, it could be a real test of your patience when you were like drawing magic from monsters and stuff, which is a thing that I'll explain when I get to that game. But yeah, what am I getting at here? I was using that game's version of the run around extra fast mechanic. And I will. So we're closing in on the end of this LP, folks. One thing I am not going to miss is this game's treasure mechanic, where almost every treasure chest in the game, there is a percentage chance that it will just contain gold or a knot of rust. Oh, for crying out loud. So annoying. Okay, well, at least it didn't happen when there were a bunch of enemies about. Oh, that's right. You don't do that with Asuna because this is considered a positive status. Well, that actually makes it slightly easier to get rid of. Because I can use Dispelga. I accidentally used it on the reserve members? That was not what I meant to do. Well, at least, I guess that means that I won't have to do it separately to, I won't have to do it separately to Van when he comes back into the party. Alright. I can't get rid of her yet. Alright. Okay, Pinello, you can stop doing stuff now so that I can get you out of the party. I'm trying to get it back to the all-boys party. If she doesn't knock it off, I'm going to have to just switch to the all-girls party. Okay. Redis being gender neutral, of course. Redis identifies as a hermaphrodite, and who are you to judge? Zur or Zim? Invader Zim. Yeah, but this system where like you have no idea whether it's worth it to go all the way to where this treasure chest was that you saw but couldn't reach. It definitely wasn't worth it. Whatever treasure it is when it's not gold may have been worth it. That definitely wasn't worth it. Now there are strategies for fighting this boss that involve things like wandering around in the... because it'll be here in the middle of the Coliseum. We can duck in and out of those alcoves to avoid its attacks and whatnot. It's all very, very exciting. And I would think that one of your strategies, you might need to hit all of the traps in the area early in the fight before you get to a critical juncture in the fight, because those traps, you don't want to suddenly get hit with a bunch of status shit right in the middle of a big fight against a super boss. But like almost all the super bosses in this game, the ultimate super boss will be fighting there eventually, which I've never actually fought. I didn't even like fight it and fail. I just never actually did everything needed to unlock it, because I'd already had bosses that were not as difficult as it, which I was like, screw it, I don't feel like doing enough grinding to actually ever be able to beat this thing. But, because again, didn't have the ability to speed things up by 4 times. But like most bosses in this game, they do this desperately annoying thing where as it gets lower and lower on health, it starts powering up and getting different attacks and stuff, which basically means you can waste 30 minutes, an hour plus fighting something, thinking you've finally figured it out, and then it switches on you, and you're kind of like, well, can't you just have it be as powerful it's going to get right from the beginning so I don't waste a lot of time thinking I can handle it? I never beat Ozma from Final Fantasy IX either, but that's the one where everyone loves that boss because it doesn't take like an hour. It's like it's really difficult. You have to have like exactly the right strategies and stuff. It counters a lot of stuff. It fights differently depending on how you fight. Blah blah blah. All these really great things for a boss fight. But hit point wise, it's like no, it doesn't have. It's a huge repository of hit points. It's just that it'll freaking kill you before you can do anything unless you really have a good setup and do things to kind of pair of killing boots. Do things to kind of control its actions a bit. See how it's doing. Alright. So what is the Nidorina Cataract? Oh, see, we got Arcadia, Nebradia. It does tell you a region. That means something, I suppose. And then Nebradia is all this Nabudis stuff, I guess. Dalmasca includes the whole... Well, Dalmasca doesn't include much of anything, because once you get out here, you're in Yagd Yensa, and then down here it's Bancor and Yagd Diffor. I don't know that these terms ever meant anything. This is so Yagd now that whatever. Probably on the wiki you can read about what those things are supposed to refer to, the various Yagds. I don't think Alderman knows. Because I don't think they come from any kind of real-world mythology. I think it's just made-up stuff for this game. We're almost to the Pharaohs at Nidorina. So yeah, I don't think Nidorina Cataract actually... City of Other Days. Echoes of Time's Garden. It's just an unexplained ancient ruin, like some civilization that fell. We really don't know anything more about it than that. But the Pharaoh's Lighthouse, I guess, is the actual destination, and no wonder I don't remember anything about the Nidorina Cataract. There's not a whole lot to the place, because we're almost at the Pharaoh's Lighthouse now. Just a couple of exciting traps lined up, and we're there. So we'll save just for the hell of it. But I'll save it a different slot in case, like I said, it turns out it's desperately important that I steal from that one rare game trophy mark hunt thingamajigger. I'm enjoying this game. I wish oh man, my weekend is almost over. I'm getting to a bunch of boring real life stuff, but I had to take some work home this week, which is annoying. Sweep. I wonder what that is. I had to take some work home this weekend. I feel like I barely had a chance to do any fun stuff, but I'm getting into this now. I wish I could have gotten. Wish I had a little more time I could have set aside. So this is a pole. The only person who can use is Baltier, and he's pretty much using staffs. So who cares? Could have been worse. Could have been 432 gold. Or gil. Now we're at the Pharaohs at Nidorina. It's not just any Pharaohs. This is the Pharaohs at Nidorina. There's various Pharaohs. This is all over the world, so you don't want to get one confused with another. It's like Six Flags over Nidorina. It's just like Pharaohs over Nidorina. It's pretty nice. I recently found out there's a Six Flags nearby that I had no knowledge of at all. What an exciting way to segue into a boss fight, talking about, hey guys, do you know there's a Six Flags near where I live? Do you know where I live? I don't know that I've mentioned it in this particular series. So I will be surprised and a bit disappointed myself if this fight turns out to be a problem, because generally the mandatory bosses are not a big deal if you're keeping up with the available hunt missions, which are kind of your not super boss, but like, you know, boss plus bosses in this game. That being said, let's see what this thing is about. It's called Hydro. He's got haste. So at a minimum, we're gonna, well, what am I doing? Starting a boss battle at 25 minutes into the video. We're gonna call it a video, and when we come back, we'll either be in the middle of fighting this thing, or we'll be in the middle of fighting this thing, because I just realized I promised if I have to go back and steal from that rare hunt trophy, I'll do it off screen. So when we come back, folks, Hydro. I'm not gonna read up on it, just gonna try to steal from it and then try to beat it up. See you then.